up, everybody? I'm Eamon, for those of y'all that don't know me. And this is my workshop on kickstarting a creative project. A little bit about me. I'm a last semester senior at UMass. I major in economics, though I have a collateral field in film and music production, which it's like basically the same thing as a minor, but way less requirements. I founded my own LLC called Silent Eye Productions. We made a feature film last semester titled Lost and Found. Currently in post-production, and this presentation is heavily based on my experiences with that project, though pretty much all of the information can be applied towards other works. So getting started, let's say you have the coolest idea ever, and you think it's gonna be a hit. First thing you gotta do is figure out what this project needs. So, first off, let's say you wanna make a project at UMass. Your resources are UMass. If you're at UMass, you probably don't got money, so you're limited in that regard. But the school offers a lot of resources that you can use to help you with any creative projects for the most part. Also, you have access to a large network. There's like 30,000 kids that go here. There's like 20,000 kids in the surrounding 5 colleges. So in total, you got access to like 50,000 people who could potentially help you out. And also, usually people who are in college making creative works tend to have a demographic of people in their own age range. So that's also about 50,000 people you could target for your demographics. In terms of equipment, for entry-level stuff, I have a 4K camera actually right here. It's called the Sony ZV-E10, and I bought this for about $700. For an extra $100, I got this lens, which changes from 16 millimeters to 50 millimeters, and about 10 years ago, that exact camera was probably worth like $100,000, just because 4K wasn't even really a thing back then. Also, for music projects, you can do anything really with sound, but you typically use a digital audio workstation. Most common ones are Logic Pro, FL Studio, Ableton. The school actually, in the library over here, we have access to free access with our student IDs to Logic Pro. So if you buy it separately, it's like $200. If you just want to use the school resources, it's free. Also, a MIDI keyboard, if you want to get into actually making beats or playing instrumentals, you can buy like an Akai MPK Mini for about like $100, $150. Microphone, about like $100, $150, and an audio interface, which you plug the mic into, about that much too. But for about like, we'll say $500, you can have a really good sounding recording setup just to get started. And then also, if you're doing other types of like video work, you could pay, I think it's like $10, $20 a month for Adobe Creative Cloud as a student, which gives you like Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere Pro, or you could use like DaVinci Resolve, which I use the free version. I've been editing the entire movie on that, and I haven't even bought the paid version yet, and like I still have access to everything. Also, so in the library we have the DML. In the ILC, there's a section called the Cage, which is the Communications and Journalism Equipment locker. You do need to get access to that through like a form that you got to fill out. But typically, if you're taking a class in comm or journalism, you'll have access to it. If you're not in those classes, I think you just need to reach out to somebody in the department and just ask, and usually they'll probably help you out. And getting started, now you know kind of what kind of equipment you might be needing for your project. Now, let's say you have the equipment, but you don't know how to actually get the technical stuff going. You might want to figure out how to do these things. At the school, we actually have a ton of access to courses to where you can take communications and theater classes that specialize in both film and music production that can help you with learning stuff, and you can get a free grade for something you're already gonna learn anyways. For some of the ones that I listed here are classes I've actually taken. I've taken Sound Design 1, Studio Recording and Music Production. This other one's called Let's Make Some Noise, but it's just sound design using sampling. And then I also took Fundamentals of Acting, and I'm in Acting 1 and Directing 1 right now, and Actor-Director Collaboration for theater. In Communications, I've taken Film and TV Production Concepts and Advanced Digital Filmmaking. And Advanced Digital Filmmaking was really nice because I was already working on the movie anyways, and so my professor was just like, oh, I'm hosting this class next semester, like, you could get a grade for that movie that you're working on anyways. I was like, shit, say less. But if you don't have, or if it's not an option, or if it's just not something you're really looking for to take classes at the school for this, you can teach yourself everything. Literally just YouTube, you can search just about anything. Actually pull up, just to give you an example. But, like, let's say you want to search up how to mix vocals. You literally just search up the question. You get how many results? It doesn't even tell you anymore. But hundreds of results. You just look at like probably the top like 5 to 10 channels. You just literally click on their channel, and then go to their videos. They got tons of tutorials. You can literally just go through the entire channel, and every single one of these channels that are posting these types of videos have their own like basic catalogs of tips and tricks for not just like doing vocals, but like let's say you want to get into film. How to film a movie. And again, all these different videos are popping up. Film Courage, they have their entire channel is based on just doing interviews with filmmakers and just all these different people who have made projects or have worked on projects, just give out free advice about their experiences and things to help, which it goes from business side of things to creative to just everything. Even just like confidence. That's not just movies. Everybody could use a little confidence boost. But pretty much like any type of question you have for like any creative project, or even like, let's say you want to get into making clothes. How to design clothing. Again, all of these different channels, you just go through the channels and just find all these different videos. Any question, just search it up. Going back to this. Also, what I typically do when I was in the brainstorming process, I would watch these videos actively and passively. So like, let's say I'm going to the dining hall and I have some spare time, I'm not eating with anybody. Just plug in my headphones, have the video playing the entire time. Even if I'm not looking at my phone, just having it listening. Because sometimes I might not hear everything, but there might be like a sentence or two that really strings out to me, and I'm like, oh, shit, I never thought about that. Or like, if you're like out with friends or just out doing things, you can easily just throw on a video in the background. You don't even have to actively listen, but getting in the habit of just informing yourself about everything will go a long way. And also, if you don't have time to watch the video, you can just throw up playlists and just keep adding these videos to playlists. Eventually, you can just watch that whole playlist and you're just gonna get a ton of videos. Once you got kind of the information for your project figured out, next step that you're probably gonna take is figuring out how you're actually gonna structure this project, which typically is only like 4 main phases: pre-production, production, post-production, and marketing. Each one of them will take varying amounts of time. For Lost and Found, pre-production was about 6 months, production about like 3-4 months, and then post-production 6 months and counting. And then marketing is planned for about 3 months. So pretty long process, but you can break it up into multiple parts. So I typically have a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly approach to this. Actually, I brought my journals. I have this smaller to-do list, which I literally just, I stopped using it recently, but I kind of just like anything I have like planned to do that day, I'll just write it down. If I get it done, I highlight it. If I don't, I cross it out. And I make it my goal to just highlight as much as I can. And I also do it based off of productivity and not the end result. So let's say like my goal is to write a script in a month. In order to get to that goal, let's say the script's 70 pages. I'll probably need to write like 2 to 5 pages a day. So in my notebook, I would write 5 pages of script writing. And then once I'm done, I cross it out. And at the end of every day, in this bigger journal, I do a daily entry where I just literally list down how my day went start to finish. Which this also helps with just getting more comfortable with, like, let's say you're doing film, writing down dialogue. Because I kind of write it as if I'm talking to somebody. And I just list down how my day went and how I feel at the end of the day, what my plans are for tomorrow. And then I usually write down some positive affirmations too, just to kind of keep myself motivated to keep going. But the real like key is to not look too big picture. Cause if you have a big ass idea and you step back and you're like, holy shit, there are so many fucking parts to this, you are going to get discouraged pretty quickly. And so you wanna scale it down. Remind yourself, tomorrow does not exist. The only thing that exists is this very current moment we have. And what can I do in the current moment to help me get to where I wanna be tomorrow? And maintaining that mindset will take you far. But after you have that kind of roadmap figured out, the next step would be to start the outline for the project. For Lost and Found, I decided to start with the actual marketing plan because doing a film, I realized that the release is going to be the most important thing I could possibly think about, because if I could go through all this process, if I fumbled the release, I'm probably not going to be able to make another project like this. And so I decided that I wanted to tell this 90-minute story in 7 chunks, but then split that into 7 weekly videos, which would then kind of change it into a TV show. But it splits 90 minutes, which I could do as one single film release, or I could do 7 weekly videos. And by doing that, it stretches out more time for the video to be accessible, and then also clipping each video. So like, let's say part 1 is about 15 minutes. You cut up 15 minutes into about 7 to 15 TikToks. And you post those TikToks 1 to 2 to 3 times a day, every single day in between those weekly drops. Pretty quickly, you go from one 90-minute film to 7 weekly chapters to about roughly 100 like short form videos. And if you're posting every single day and you have different content, just based on the way these social media apps work, one of them is bound to go viral. Like, as long as you have something different every single day, like eventually one's gonna get over like 10,000 impressions, or 20,000 or 30,000, or just something in that range. And when one goes viral, everything else that's already been posted gets boosted. Because let's say I'm on like week 4 of marketing, and I just put out chapter 4, and midway through chapter 4, one of the TikToks goes viral, gets like 100,000 views, and everything before it was getting like a couple hundred. That 100,000 video will now trickle into maybe 10,000 people clicking on the profile and then watching some of the other videos, in which turn promotes all these other videos into the algorithm, and out of nowhere you now get all these other videos getting like a couple thousand to tens of thousands of views all at once because of that one video. And also for this project, I'm also planning on doing a 5-week marketing release for the soundtrack, which one of my good friends has been working on, and I actually have a plan for that too. Basically, leading up to the announcement of the film, we're gonna do a single from the soundtrack alongside a music video that just shows shots from the film. The music's playing the whole time. There's no actual audio of the film, but like the shots can infer a story and like builds up skepticism, mystique, just draws their attention through seeing high quality shots, listening to high quality music, but somewhat confusion over what the actual story is. And then promote that pretty much every single day for about 2 weeks, and then put out the second single, followed by a teaser clip. Again, teaser clip supposed to draw more buzz. The following week, drop the soundtrack as a full album, and alongside the soundtrack, movie poster. Following week, chapter 1, and then 7 weeks of marketing the film. Um, and with that in mind, I then got to work on the story. I figured that I just started on my phone. I'm stupid. But in my notes app on my phone, I ended up basically I started off just bullet pointing things. So like, first thing I did, I started off with names. How many characters do I want? How many main characters? How many side characters? I picked like 7. Three main characters, 4 supporting characters that push the main characters' plot lines. And then within each of these characters, personality traits, their purpose to the story, what happens on a chapter by chapter basis with each of these characters, how their perspective on life affects their decision making, all of these little like intricacies, until the point where I felt like I knew everything about these characters before I wrote the actual script. And in total, it took about like 3 months. Like I started at the very beginning, I started May 2021. The actual outlining process finished around end of August 2021. Then I got back to campus, and then I started figuring out who in my network I could get help from. So I reached out to my professors, my econ professor, Val, my film professor, Kevin, and sound design with Amy. And then I also reached out to Bray, who I knew through personal connections back home. And with the faculty members, I reached out to them in the fall semester, telling them my plans to film in the spring. And because I had done that and early on built up a connection with these professors, they were able to assist me along my journey. And I took like that advanced digital filmmaking class, which to an extent was basically a free class. I took 2 sound design classes, which Amy told me that like, if I had a way to flip the assignment into using it for the film, by all means go for it. And also Val, I was taking her class last semester, and it became a struggle for me time commitment wise because I was fully committed to the actual film production. And she helped me set up a system so I could get it incomplete for the class, so that I could just dedicate my time to the project. And because of that, like, that I was actually able to actually fully dedicate to this actual production, and it was all thanks to the professors in my network and also the faculty and resources that I had at the school. And then also having reached out to Bray, he had agreed to join as like the executive producer for the soundtrack and sound design and scoring for the film, which also that helped to motivate me because Bray is one of the most talented artists I've personally encountered in my life. He does literally everything: mixing, producing, writing, performing, and like getting him to like actually agree to the project. I'm like, okay, I gotta hold up my end of the deal. Like I can't like let him down. You feel me? But also, while reaching out, I had to make it worthwhile. So like for Bray, he's an incredibly talented musician. It's not too often he gets hit up to work on a movie. So that's how he could benefit. He gets credit as an executive producer, and he gets music promoted through this film. Also, when it was time to recruit the cast and crew, I had to let them in on the actual marketing plan and explain to them how I think this could be a commercial success and how they could benefit from it themselves. And I set up profit shares for everybody on the team so that depending on how much time they committed to the project, they would be compensated accordingly. And basically, like the way I set it up, it was 50-50, so 50% goes to Silent Eye Productions, which is the company, and then the other 50 gets dispersed between cast and crew. So let's say the project makes like 100,000 in gross earnings. Of that 100,000, 50,000 gets paid off between cast and crew. Then the other 50,000 is then reinvested into the company for future projects. And then obviously I'll probably keep a little bit just to like eat. But setting that up was pretty easy. You can get templates for any contract you want online. Literally, you could search up a non-disclosure agreement, and you could find one right now. And all you need to do is change like maybe 3 or 4 words on the entire document, and now it's your like contract. And like the good thing with contracts is that it prevents things from getting like really messy professionally. Because let's say we're like halfway through filming, and I haven't set up any like profit share or any like way for anybody to benefit off the project. Eventually, everybody's gonna come to me and they're gonna be like, "Yo, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what am I getting out of this?" And if they feel like they're not getting anything out of it, they're not gonna come back. It doesn't matter how good of a person I am to be around, or how cool of an idea the project is. If you don't feel like you're benefiting from your time commitment to a project that you're not getting paid for, you're not gonna be there. It's just simple as that. But I felt like making sure that everybody was taken care of from the very beginning was a key factor, and that also obviously being considerate and appreciative of everybody was also extremely important, because I'm not paying anybody up front. I gotta at least like thank them. Like at the very least, I can't like be an asshole. Like imagine if I was just on set and I was like, "Dude, you suck. Like you need to do better." Like that immediately. That's the end of the fucking shoot. They're like, "Dude, fuck you." Like, but also, when working in groups, scheduling can be the worst thing. Absolutely fucking horrible. For Lost and Found, we had a team of like about 15 like that were regularly involved. Managing schedules with 15 full-time college students was literally a full-time job by itself. And so a lot of the times too, there was like I would have the whole like I would meet up with my friends on Zoom. We would plan out this whole like plan for the week. The next day I get a text, "I won't be able to make it on Friday." That's okay. I can move it around. Next day another one. Can't make it on Friday. Fuck. Okay, we're gonna be okay. We still got a couple of key actors. Everybody bails except 2 people. There's only one scene we can do. I guess we'll do that scene today. But it still ended up being a very productive shoot, because regardless of the limitations, still found a way to get something done for that day. And that is the key. Like no matter what, nothing is ever gonna go the way you think it's gonna go. You could have every single fine-tuned detail sorted out, and then, sorry, I can't make it, or your equipment broke, or you don't have access to that building for the shoot, or, this person bailed on the studio session. Like, there are things that are gonna be out of your control, and as the leader of a project, you need to figure out how to move forward through those obstacles. And like there were times we scrapped probably, I'd say, luckily we didn't have to scrap too much, but we ended up cutting like, I don't know, like maybe 15, 20 minutes of footage out of the whole thing, but still made it to 90. So in the end, it still worked out, but a lot of the way that we were gonna plan it out had to get like sorted differently, if that makes sense. That's a little confusing, but also like there were times where like Carolyn would be available for a shoot, but then Hooper wouldn't, and they're supposed to be in a scene together, and then we have to adjust the scene so that Hooper doesn't have to appear on screen at the same time Carolyn does, so we can still get half of the scene done, and then when Hooper's available later, come back and do the other half. And That way, like, it's able to, like, still get as much productivity given the limitations. And I think, yeah, so that's all I have for the actual presentation. But, again, all of that stuff that I just said, though it was very heavily film oriented, every single aspect of what I just said can be flipped towards any project you're working on. Let's say you want to do a fucking shoe line. You can literally take the shit that I just put out and adjust certain things here and there, and you can apply that information towards your own idea. But that's all I had planned for the actual presentation, and now I am down to listen to any of your questions.
Can you talk about that sound design class you took?
Yes. So I took 3 in total. Sound design 1 was the intro one. Let me check which course number was that. 363. Open to all students. You don't have to be a theater major to actually enroll. It's pretty dope. For that class, I got like grades just for making beats, and it was sick. I made it like I'm gonna show you actually one. Let me pull it up. But we had an image project where we had to create a piece based off of an image that we got to pick out of the class. And let me pull it up. It was sick because like legitimately like you have full creative control in the class. It's just like Amy will give like, oh, do a sound piece based on this image. You can do anything with sound. You can do a little like horror movie. You just like no visuals. You could do a fucking beat. You could do some abstract sound that gives off that type of vibe. And it's like it's very much, it's not graded based on your final product, but rather the effort that you put into trying to make something for the class. Let me pull it up. Sound design. So let me actually. Class materials, image project. I still have the Google Drive from the class. So this is the picture that I picked for the project. It gave off like at the first time I looked at it, it gave off a real melancholy vibe. And like in the background, I thought this was like trash and like fire, right? And so I'm thinking like maybe it's in like an alleyway, like the background at least. And so I made this piece. Hold up, let me pull up. But it was funny because when I first started, I made this like spooky beat. And then I went to class and showed it. And then my classmates pointed out, they're like, yo, so like what about the rock band? I was like, what? Then I took a closer look. That's actually a guitar, drums, piano, and that's stage lights. So I'm like, oh, it's a fucking rock band. It's not a fucking like spooky thing, but I started off with this beat. So like this is literally an assignment for the class.
I had no idea this was at UMass.
Yeah, no, it's like.
Did you do it at the new recording studio?
The second semester I did. It was Intro to Studio Recording and Music Production. That one was we had access to the studio there. So sick. They had just built it too.
Yeah.
It was I missed that studio. I wish I had access to it.
Usually like at any time, you just like
So they usually the TAs host studio sessions, but basically they're just like the engineer of the studio. So like you can just pull up any time that they're there, and you can just do whatever you want as long as the TA's there. But so I started off with this beat, and then there's the big counter melody that's coming in. But I started off with this, and then they're like, yo, what about the fucking rock band? And I'm gonna skip a little bit ahead.
Do they have Logic Edge in the studio?
Yes, because so the class itself, it's in the same hallway as that studio. There's one room where it's just all computers like that with Logic on it.
Yeah.
I had it on my own computer, so I would just use it off of that. But you don't need to have a computer with Logic Pro to take the class as well. Literally, you just need to enroll in the class. You can take it. You have access to the room. You have access to all the resources. Like it's awesome. Let me skip a little bit ahead. But so I ended up adding a little beat switch because then I was like, well, I gotta do something rock related to this.
Yeah.
crazy too. Like I got this fucking beat out of just this picture.
Did she like assign you guys a picture? Or did you
Well,
just
so
choose
we have 5 pictures to choose from, and I just went with the one that struck to me. I was like, ooh, this one like just has a vibe to it. I was like, I'm gonna do this one. So I took this class fall of last year, so it's been a year now. And also, the professor Amy, last semester she went on leave because she had kids.
Yeah.
But I think she should be back next semester. Well, that's
I've
pretty
been
much
trying
that
to get
part.
the club to use that space.
Yeah.
But they're not letting.
Nah, they're so stingy with it. It's so fucked.
And also, it's weird that like the music department doesn't have access to that.
I know, it's
only
just
the
theater.
theater.
Yeah. Because also like the middle area of like, have you seen like the open space? That's like orchestra room.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
it's,
haven't been inside, but I've seen that.
it's so crazy how
I
like
wanna get in there.
they have access to that shit. But yeah, so there's that sound design, and then studio recording and music production builds off of that. I was actually in class with basically like we started off, we would make like our own works, and then towards the end of the semester we started doing group projects. Actually I made this one in class. I'll put this on real quick. Wow, literally I was just sitting in class one day, she was like, yeah, just work on whatever, and I ended up like making these chords, and then I was just like, oh shit, like this kind of sounds cool, and then I just built upon it and turned it into a trap beat. But it's crazy because like this is literally like I got a grade for this. Like I still struggle to fathom that like being a student at UMass, you can literally get graded for like some dumb shit like this.
It's not dumb. I get
No,
graded
but
for
like,
singing.
oh yeah, no, it's awesome. But like the fact that there's kids out here taking calculus exams and I'm just making beats for homework. But yeah, so there was that one, and then there was also sound design with sampling, which is called Let's Make Some Noise. That one was interesting. I missed that class a lot because it was at 10 a.m. But I ended up,
Come on.
there was one project we did. It was called Mouth Sounds Project. I might be able to pull that up, maybe. But basically, you just had to make a sound piece using only mouth sounds. So it was a group project. Me and my partner Vicky, we literally just went out to the hallway, recorded ourselves on my phone doing like just all these different sounds, and then oh no, I can't do it. But basically flipped like all these little things into like a little beat, and it was like, what the fuck, like it's so weird. I made a water bottle type beat for also in that class. That shit was crazy. I literally just got my water bottle, and then
That's what Charlie Puth does.
yeah, no, it's
His
sick.
song Light Switch is literally the sound of the light switch.
It's so awesome, like being able to take like a project that has literally nothing in it, and then at the end it's just like a full fucking song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are like the sound design classes that are available.
Is there like requirements to get into those classes?
No,
None?
literally for the sound design classes, no, none at all. As long as you have open credits and it fits your schedule, you can take that class. You don't even need to hit up the professor.
What about the other ones there?
So fundamentals of that. So all of these theater classes do not need like requests. I'm in acting 1 and directing 1, which is 342 and 345. Those ones you need to take fundamentals of acting, and it's supposed to be for the majors. But if you take 140, you'll usually be able to get into the other ones. And then I'm also in, I forget what number it is. It's like a 400 one. It's called actor director collaboration. You're also supposed to be taking. You're also supposed to have taken 342, but I'm already taking it right now, and I just hit up the professor. I was like, yo. I already took in fundamentals, and I'm already in acting 1. Is it cool if I can enroll in this one? And she just got me in the class. So literally all you have to do is just ask the professor, and they usually will help. The only one out of these classes that you need an override for is advanced digital filmmaking. But literally you just fill out a little form. What type of project do you want to work on? So like if you have a film, a documentary, experimental like music video. You can do literally any type of like video project for the class as long as you have a plan for it and how it's gonna take you a semester to film and edit it. I didn't actually like finish the film in the class. I spent the entire semester just filming, and then I ended up like putting together this shitty ass like concept trailer, and then I sent that in as my final assignment. I got a B minus, which considering I did no actual editing, I'll take that. Well,
Okay, so follow-up question. Like we were talking about how you like did the thing where you like create your own major.
yes,
I don't know if you know this or not, but do you know if it's possible to do that with like a minor?
yes. So that's actually what I'm doing. So to make your own major, it's called BDIC. It's like a building a degree in an individual concentration. Usually you just gotta talk to an advisor, tell them what your plan is, what courses that will fulfill that. They'll usually always approve it. And if they don't, they'll tell you what steps you need to take to get it done. For a minor, there's the collateral field, which that's what I did. I'm an econ major, but I wanted to take classes in like film and music concentration. And with a collateral field, basically the only difference between that and a minor you need 5 classes in that field, and typically you need like a technical, analytical, and then like 3 general classes for that. With the collateral field, it's any 5, and you can mix and match subjects. So for me, my collateral field in film and music production, I'm combining theater and communications with my econ degree. And then I'm also taking all my electives in film and music. So like low-key, I'm like a triple major, but on my degree, it's just econ. But to do that, all you have to do, literally just go to your advisor and be like, yo, I'm interested in a collateral field. I'm thinking about doing it for this. These are the types of classes I want to take for this collateral field. Can you approve it? And as long as you already have the classes figured out, you'll be good. It's just any 5, and the advisor needs to approve it. Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you? You
Go
wanna
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So like, how did you like make your first track? You know, you said you were econ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm econ, but also I'm kind of interested in just art in general, design, making my own songs.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's that process like for you? So just being a non-music major, what like do you know like music theory, or like how do you make your first track?
Yes. So I actually started with I took there's actually another class. I took a couple of music classes. There was music appreciation and fundamentals of music theory that the school also offers. So I started taking fundamentals of music theory. There's also YouTube videos that you can find all about it. Pretty much just type in like, also I'll bring it up on here actually. But like, literally all you have to do is like, let's say you want to make a beat, right? And then work on like making a song from that. Let's say you want to make a Juice WRLD beat. How to make a Juice WRLD type beat. And all of these YouTubers are giving you tutorials. What I started doing, because I also had friends around me who were making music, such as Bray and a couple others, I had reached out to them first. But they kind of just told me like to do this. And I would watch these videos, and then while the video is playing, I'll follow along. So like, let's say like this is an FL Studio tutorial. I'll load up FL Studio, and as the tutorial's going, I'll just do the same thing the tutorial is doing, just following along, making the same exact beat that they're making. At the end, you basically follow along, learn all the little tricks that they do. If they have multiple videos, do multiple tutorials so that you kind of figure out different patterns in the music production process. And then eventually, even without a proper understanding of what you're doing, you can then apply what you learned from those tutorials and then try and make your own thing using those tools. The only thing I'd say that you need music theory, you actually need music theory for, is to understand scales, chords, intervals, which basically like, the main things I feel like, at least in my experience that I've been doing, obviously I'm still pretty limited at this, but I usually start my melodies either on the 1, 3, or 5, which like if it's C, or let's say if it's like A minor, which is all white keys, either A, C, or E. That's the 1, 3, or 5. I start it on 1, 3, or 5, and then I finish on 2, 4, or 6. Anything else, I just play it out, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. Yeah, and then with drums, I just follow intuition. I did like also the beats will like the tutorials will show you like how they do it, but usually I kind of just go for my own thing and like just like feel it out.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I'd be down to like do something together. It'd be fun.
That hell yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Eloise and then what?
Well, I had a question, but I don't really know if you have an answer. But like,
Okay.
when you talked about the scheduling,
Yes.
like, does it get frustrating in how much, like, as like the leader,
Mm-hmm.
like how much, like, say you're running a rehearsal, for example. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just taking, and like you're trying to get a lot of people together, and they just can't. Like, how much do you control, and how, like, where's the boundary, and how do you like not make the process frustrating? I guess.
Yes. So I can actually go pretty in depth on that. So being the leader, you have to be the one reaching out to everybody. You can't rely on everybody to hit you back accordingly. You have to be the one going out like, yo, are you still good for today's shoot? Are you ready? Like, are you able to make it here at this time for this amount of time? And usually you're gonna get a couple people who are not gonna be able to make it. If you don't have replacements for them, either try and figure out a way for them to adjust their schedule to be able to accommodate, or be able to reschedule it to a time that works for everybody. Thankfully for Lost and Found, there was only one specific shoot that we had to really like get everybody together for, and that was the house party shoot, which we filmed at my friend's off-campus apartment or a crib. And for that shoot, we needed 6 out of the 7 actors for the day, and then obviously extras and crew. And it took 4 reschedules to make that happen, and almost did not make that 4th one in time. But we started off originally like I got the agreement to film at their house back in like mid February, and then we planned for like a March shoot. Come like a week or 2 before the shoot, a couple people are like, oh, I can't make it for this. I'm like, okay, let's move it to the next week. Following week there's Easter, so I'm like, okay, let's move it another week, and then kept doing that a little bit, and then after like I think the 4th time we then set on April 24th, and then leading up to it, I had I think 3 of the actors tell me that they weren't going to be able to make it, and at that point I was like, yo, I'm gonna be honest with you, we can't schedule another one. This is like, we have to make this somehow happen.
Yeah.
Thankfully, every single one of them who had the scheduling conflicts were able to make it work. And also though, it ended up, when we ended up having that shoot, it was scheduled from 3 to 7. Around like, what was it, like 6? We ordered Chipotle for everybody. And Chipotle did not get to the house until like fucking 9:30, and then they fucked up half the orders, and we took like a little break waiting for the food because like everybody was kind of tired.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like just like nonstop from 3 to 7 just going, and so I was like, okay, let's give everybody like a good break, and then we take the break. Food's taking forever, so now everybody's like frustrated with the food. They're like, dude, I just want to eat. Like, we're all just like, dude, what's going on? And then a couple of the actors had made plans afterwards because they thought it was gonna end at 7.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. I need you to stay. Like, I hate to do this, but we ended up wrapping up the shoot at I think it was like 10:30, which like pretty much doubled the length originally
Yeah.
anticipated. But something I hadn't accounted for at the time was that what I can get done in 4 hours at my pace is not the same as everybody else's. I'm a pretty active person. I skate, I play basketball, I play football. I'm always outside. I have a lot more stamina than most people. And so in my mind when I was scheduling the shoot, I was thinking okay, we can get this done within 4 hours if we operate on my time, which obviously it was a bad idea thinking back, but I didn't think that my pace was too far off from everybody else. But then come time for the shoot, people were needing breaks. I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure, like I get that. And then it just ended up stretching out far longer. And it did get like the last like hour we had to speed run one of the chapters, chapter 4. That's probably like the worst quality of all the chapters. It's still good, but pretty much we had to do that entire like 10 minutes section in about 30 minutes of filming, and we had to 1 or 2 take everything, and like it was bad. I was having like an anxiety attack. I'm like, okay, let's. Oh fuck, I gotta cut. Okay. And it was chaos. But after it was done, I was like so relieved because that was like the most important shoot. Once that was done, everything else was gonna fall into place. But honestly, with scheduling, you have to be able to just work around everybody else. Like it's as much as you hate to have to do it, that is an inevitability with being a scheduling manager.
Okay, this might be redundant, but let's say like, oh, I'm just interested to like making music, taking it more seriously.
Yes.
And let's say people around, there's not really like people around me to really help me with that. How did you find like a way to, I guess, put yourself in a position where you can get those?
Yes, great question actually. So, when I was getting started, being inexperienced, the more experienced artists aren't gonna want to work with me because they're like, oh, like, what do I benefit from working with this kid? Like, I know more about everything than he does. But then the inexperienced ones are not serious. So then I'm trying to work with people. They're too busy trying to live a rap lifestyle. We're too worried about smoking weed and trying to pull all the girls at the club, and I'm just like, okay, bro, like this like you're not serious, like. And so I found that during that time in my journey, I had to an extent, isolate. Basically, I kind of like, thankfully for me, this was during COVID, so it was easy as fuck to like not have to go out of my way to see people. But for a good portion, I was just in my room, just like almost every day, just trying to practice something. When I make my beats, something I always try and work on is making at least one aspect of this beat better than any beat I've made before. Whether it's the melody, the mixing, the drums, even like just like sound selection. It's something I want like specifically to improve upon. And every day, like when I had the time, I was taking like at least a couple like hours or an hour or 2 out of my day and just like trying to make something. Whether it's I'm working on vocals, I'm trying to work on this melody, or even just making something terrible. I have on my hard drive, I probably have like maybe 300, I would say probably 300 FL Studio files. Out of those 300, I only have like 10 actual beats that I would ever won't consider putting out. Everything else is just vaults or experiment prototypes. But the thing is, you have to be okay with being ass. Because it is through the period where you suck that you discover what works and what doesn't. And for me, I had a period where I was making like 4 to 5 projects a day. Every single one of them sound like those meme beats where everything's off time. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? And then I just kept doing it. And after like 3 weeks of making terrible beats back to back to back to back to back to back to back, out of nowhere I made a hit. And I was like, ooh, I made this? But like that's really like that's how I found in my journey. It is very much trial and error and being okay with failing. That's like and that's not just for music, in general with life. You have to be able to fail. You have to be okay with failing. You have to be able to not take it personally when you fail. Because every time you don't succeed, there's a reason. What is that reason? When you figure that out, you then learn something from it. And you can take what you learn, apply it to your next attempt. You might fail again, but now that's not the reason why you didn't succeed. There's something new. And eventually you start piecing together all these little faults, and eventually you will have something where you finally figure it out and you're like, damn, I did it. Any other questions?
I was gonna say, like, where do you draw most of your inspiration from, and like, do you still use like the picture method, like once in a while or something like that, like when it comes to like making beats?
Yes. So I'd say musically, my biggest inspirations would be definitely Juice WRLD. Just seeing how effortless he made making music, I was like, what the fuck? Like, this dude can churn out an hour worth of freestyles into like 3 albums. And then I was like, well, if he can do it that easy. And then also my friends that were making music at the time, Bray, Nando, Adrian, a couple other kids I went to high school with, I saw them making music, and like seeing how effortlessly they made it, and then also like being a very big hip hop head, I watched all of these rappers like blow up from nothing, and seeing like every single one of their success stories opened my eyes to the reality that like literally anybody can do this. It's not a matter of you are not capable. Every single individual on the planet is capable of making something amazing. It is just you need to first believe in yourself, and then you need to do it. All you have to do is just take time. Everybody has a different path. Like even like with skateboarding, for example. I've been skating for like 3 years almost on and off. I still can't really ollie. I know kids who have been skateboarding for 3 months and can do kickflips and fucking tray flips, and I'm just like, wow. I'm not jealous, but like it's crazy to see how different everybody's path is. But I think within that, you're able to realize that everybody can do it. Like it's just find what's meant for you. Whether it's you have a specific story you want to tell through your music, you have a specific style you want to embrace, a specific inspiration you want to show, and then just going out and making it. For Lost and Found, it was a very big collaborative project, though I find that a lot of these ideas I have very much not collaborative. I could do most of the creative ideas I have by myself. All it takes is being able to sit back, dedicate the time, and believe that what I'm doing is helping me become the person I'm trying to become tomorrow. But going back to inspiration, because there's also others. Like on a creative sense in general, I would say Kanye, Tyler the Creator, Childish Gambino, seeing how they were able to not only be musicians, but create amazing things in other fields too. Kanye in fashion, Tyler, like he does all aspects of music. He did a whole like story with his last couple projects. Gambino has fucking Atlanta. He has a whole fucking show, and like he's also made fucking 3005.
He writes scripts.
Yeah, no,
like full
yeah,
movie
does
scripts
everything.
to his albums.
Yeah. And seeing that, I'm like, wow, like that's so awesome. Cause like for me, with Lost and Found, I wanted to be able to combine my musical ideas and my storytelling ideas into one. Cause also, when I started making music, I came at it from the approach of a storyteller. When I used to make some hip hop tracks were like very much cap rap, but I never intended for that to be a representation of myself. I was telling these stories from the perspective of a character, kind of like, for example, how like Eminem has like Slim Shady as an alter ego, and all like a lot of rappers do that. And so I started off with that, and then I had an idea for a concept album, which was Lost and Found, and I wanted to tell a story focused on college students and mental health awareness. And I started writing the story, like trying to like plan out these little skits throughout the album. Very quickly, I was like, oh, I can just do like a short film, kind of like how like there's like I don't know if it's official, but like there's like a short film for like Good Kid, Mad City that you can find on YouTube. And like I watched that, I was like, oh, I can kind of do something like that. Started writing up the script for that, and then I was like, whoa, the script's getting kind of big. And then I realized this is actually a full-on movie. So I'm like, well, fuck the actual like concept. I'm not gonna just like use the songs I was gonna use for it in the fucking soundtrack. And then, yeah, just like it started off as just like a little fucking project, but then it just grew. And the thing is too, never in my original plan, but being flexible and open to new challenges and ideas allowed for the project to get to where it is today, where it's in editing and within hopefully a couple months it'll start being released.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Good job.
Okay. Thank you.
Wait, can I wait?
Yeah.
Put the first slide.
Yes.
That one too.
Okay.
Or do you want to?
I took a few copies.
No, like stand in front
Oh,
so
yeah.
that we're staging this.
Bet. You want it to be like a candid where it looks like I'm still doing the presentation?
Yeah.
Or okay. So I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to emphasize good body language.
Good job.
Bet.
Alright, thanks for coming everyone. Yeah, we're having a guest speaker next week. So it'll be like production, hopefully DJ oriented stuff. Stay tuned on like the location because we're trying to do it somewhere else.
How long is that?
Yeah.
57?